Noah Lancaster hadn't thought about Claire Weston in years, until he pulled over on a quiet country road and saw her. His brilliant, ambitious college friend, once destined for greatness, now working on a farm. She was covered in dirt, hauling hay, completely unaware that he was watching. But what he did next, it would change both of their lives forever. Noah Lancaster adjusted his cufflinks as he leaned back in his luxury SUV, barely paying attention to the driver taking him through the countryside. His mind was occupied with business, deals, stock prices, an upcoming merger that could make or break a billion-dollar expansion. He never had time for distractions, but today, fate had other plans. The car slowed as they approached a small roadside market. Wooden signs advertised fresh produce, homemade honey, and something called Weston Farms Special Apple Pie. "Pull over," Noah said suddenly. The driver gave him a confused glance but obeyed. Noah didn't know what made him say it. Maybe it was curiosity, maybe it was the exhaustion of boardroom meetings, or maybe it was the name Weston, a name he hadn't heard in years. Stepping out, he scanned the farm stand, and that's when he saw her, Claire Weston. She was standing near a wooden stall, hauling a basket of apples onto the counter. Her hair was tied back in a messy ponytail, streaks of dirt on her jeans, sun-kissed skin glowing in the afternoon light. It hit him like a punch to the gut. This was the same Claire who had once dominated every debate in their business classes. The same Claire who had been his fiercest competition, the woman he had once sworn would run her own empire someday. And yet, here she was. Not in a power suit, not in a high-rise office, but on a farm. His chest tightened. What the hell happened? Before he could stop himself, he stepped forward. Claire, still arranging apples, didn't notice him at first. But when she finally looked up, her breath hitched. Their eyes met, a flicker of recognition, then pure shock. "Noah," she whispered. Noah smirked, slipping his hands into his pockets. "Hey, Weston," he said. "It's been a while." She stared at him, speechless. Because the last time they had seen each other, they were both on the same path. Now, they were standing in two completely different worlds. Claire's heart pounded in her chest. Noah Lancaster. The Noah Lancaster. Her old college rival. The man who once challenged her on every assignment, every debate, every business competition. He had always been relentless, calculating, destined for power. And now? He looked the part. Tailored suit, polished shoes, that same arrogant smirk, every bit the billionaire the world knew him as. She swallowed hard, wiping her hands on her jeans. "What are you doing here?" Noah raised an eyebrow. "I could ask you the same thing." His gaze flicked around the farm stand. "This isn't exactly where I pictured you ending up, Claire." She forced a tight smile. "Funny. I was just thinking the same about you." Noah chuckled, but his eyes stayed sharp. He wasn't just here to make conversation. He wanted answers. Before Claire could say another word, a customer approached. She turned away from Noah, slipping back into her routine. "2 pies and a jar of honey?" she asked the elderly woman at the counter. The woman smiled warmly. "Yes, dear. You always have the best apples." Claire rang up the sale, packing the items with care. As she worked, Noah studied her. This didn't make sense. Claire was supposed to be in an office, running a company, making headlines. Not here, not selling pies on a quiet farm road. When the customer left, Noah leaned against the counter. "Okay, enough small talk. What happened, Claire?" She crossed her arms. "Nothing happened, Noah. I chose this life." Noah scoffed. "You expect me to believe that?" Claire's jaw tightened. "Not everything is about money and power, Lancaster. Some of us actually care about other things." Noah smirked. "Right, because the Claire Weston I knew spent 4 years tearing through every business competition just to care about other things." Claire exhaled sharply. People change. Noah studied her carefully. Or they give up. Her fingers curled into fists. He had no idea. Before she could fire back, a deep voice called out from behind them. Claire, everything okay? Noah turned as a tall, broad-shouldered man approached. Dusty boots, strong hands, a familiarity in the way he looked at Claire. Something ugly twisted in Noah's chest. Claire sighed. Noah, this is Lucas, my fiancé. Noah's smirk vanished. For the first time since he walked onto that farm, he felt completely caught off guard. Claire wasn't just working here. She had built a whole new life, one that didn't include him. And for some reason, that realization hit harder than it should have. Noah barely concealed the flicker of surprise in his eyes. Fiancé? He hadn't expected that. Lucas extended a hand. Nice to meet you, man. Noah hesitated for a fraction of a second before shaking it. Firm grip, steady. The kind of guy who didn't have to prove himself, because he already knew where he stood. Claire stood beside him, arms crossed, waiting for Noah's reaction. She wasn't going to explain, and that bothered him more than it should have. Noah forced a polite smile. Congratulations, didn't know you were engaged. Claire shrugged. Didn't know you kept tabs on me. Noah chuckled. I don't. He tilted his head. But maybe I should have. Lucas's expression remained neutral, but there was a quiet warning in his stance. A silent message that Noah understood loud and clear. This wasn't his place, not anymore. Well, Lucas said, draping an arm around Claire's waist. It was nice meeting you, but we've got a lot to do before sundown. Claire nodded. Yeah, we need to move some equipment before the rain hits. Noah glanced at her hands, calloused, strong. This life wasn't temporary. She wasn't just passing through. She had built something real here, and yet, something still didn't add up. Right, Noah said, slipping his hands into his pockets. Guess I should go. He turned to leave, but then he heard it. A low voice. Lucas murmuring to Claire. He doesn't need to know anything. Noah stopped cold. Claire shot Lucas a look, but it was too late. Noah had caught it. Slowly, he turned back around. His smirk returned, but this time it was calculated. Now that, he said smoothly, just made me curious. Claire's jaw tightened. Noah, drop it. But Noah had spent his entire life chasing the truth. And if there was one thing he knew, secrets didn't stay buried forever. His eyes locked onto hers. What aren't you telling me, Weston? Silence. Then Claire whispered something so quietly, Noah almost didn't hear it. Just let it go. But the way she said it, pleading, almost desperate, told Noah one thing for certain. He wasn't leaving until he knew exactly what she was hiding. And something told him it was bigger than he ever imagined. Noah's sharp gaze locked onto Claire, studying every flicker of emotion in her face. She was hiding something. And it wasn't small. Lucas stiffened beside her, clearly regretting what he had said. His jaw clenched as he shot Claire a look. One Noah didn't miss. A silent warning. Noah took a slow step closer. You want me to let it go? He tilted his head. That's not really my style, Weston. Claire exhaled sharply. It's none of your business, Noah. He smirked. Funny. That only makes me more interested. Lucas's stance shifted, protective. I think it's time for you to leave, man. Noah barely glanced at him. His focus was on Claire. If this has nothing to do with me, then why are you so afraid of me finding out? Claire flinched. It was subtle, but Noah saw it. And suddenly, he knew. This wasn't just about her. This was about him. A cold realization settled in his chest. Tell me the truth, Claire. His voice was lower now, serious. What did you keep from me? Claire's breathing hitched. For a moment she said nothing. Then, before she could stop herself, she whispered the words that changed everything. "Noah, you have a son." Silence. Noah's entire world tilted. The words hit him like a wrecking ball, shattering everything he thought he knew. His heartbeat thundered in his ears. A son? His throat went dry. What? Claire's eyes glistened, but she held her ground. His name is Oliver. He's 6 years old. Noah's hands curled into fists. 6 years old. That meant she had been pregnant when she left, and she never told him. He took a step back, trying to process it, but nothing made sense. "Where is he?" he demanded, his voice raw. Claire hesitated. "Inside the house." Noah turned toward the farmhouse, his chest tightening. His son was in that house. A child he never knew existed. A child who should have been his to hold, to raise, to know. He turned back to Claire, anger, shock, and something deeper burning in his eyes. "You kept my son from me." Claire swallowed hard. "Noah, I had my reasons." "Your reasons?" His voice was dangerously low. "You had no right." Lucas took a step forward. "That's enough, man." Noah's head snapped toward him. The fury in his gaze made Lucas freeze. "Stay out of this," Noah growled. Lucas clenched his jaw but didn't move. Noah turned back to Claire. "I don't care what your reasons were," he said, his voice sharp but controlled. "I'm meeting my son." Claire inhaled shakily, as if bracing herself. Then, slowly, she nodded. Noah didn't waste another second. He stormed toward the house, his entire life about to change forever.